What is going on, everybody? This is another episode of Coordinated Chaos. On this episode, we will be going over what happened in NFL Week 6. We're going to go ahead and do a Thursday night football preview as well. That's going to be against the spread. And then I'm going to do my favorite matchup against the spread of the weekend. So let's hop right into what happened in Week 6. We're just going to do a few of these games here. Just the big ones, big storylines, stuff of that nature. Let's start Thursday night football. Big NFC West rivalry, obviously, the 49ers versus the Seahawks. This game was high scoring, which is the second one in a row. Thursday night football between the NFC South last week. Barn burner there. Pretty much more or less a barn burner on Thursday night football between the 49ers and the Seahawks again. The game would have been a little bit more competitive if the Seahawks didn't get a couple of big-time key penalties in big spots where DK Metcalf would have had a big, long touchdown. I think on two separate occasions. One where like his toe was barely out, so he can barely miss a touchdown there, and then one where a penalty got his 50-yard touchdown pass catch or whatever you want to call it ruled back. And it was going to be a really good game otherwise, but the 49ers got the job done at the end of the day.
Yeah, the 49ers are a team that slowly but surely people need to almost start to worry about as contenders because they're starting to get their team back.
Yeah.
They still don't have McCaffrey, and who knows if they'll get him. But they missed so many pieces for the first few weeks, and now Purdy's got some of Kittle's back, Tebow's back, Ayuk is back, and so they are a team that should start racking up some wins, I feel like.
Yeah, no, you're right. The big thing in this game, obviously, Jordan Mason does leave in the middle of this game with an AC joint sprain. Looks like he's practicing again already this week. I think in the first day he came back to practice, he was in a non-contact jersey or whatever, so they're easing him back. I don't know if he'll play this week. If he doesn't, Isaac Guerendo will probably get the start. For fantasy purposes, he was probably a pickup that a lot of people picked up on the waiver wire this week just in case for that one game. I think that's the only thing that Jordan Mason is going to miss is one game, if any. So we'll see how that goes going into Sunday. If he ends up playing, he's a big part of that offense, obviously, with Christian McCaffrey out. Still, like you said, don't know when Christian McCaffrey's going to come back. If he really ever does this season, they might just save him for the playoffs, which is probably, if I was the organization of the 49ers, what I would do with that, because Jordan Mason's done a really good job in relief right now. But we'll see what their decision is going forward when that comes ahead.
Yeah, that's an important one. And the Seahawks, their offense looks so good, but their defense is just like in the barn burner with the Lions last week. Like they could score, but they couldn't stop anybody. Right. And so if the defense can tighten up, they should be able to win some games.
Yeah, and that's McDonald's thing is obviously defense, and he's trying to figure out with the personnel that he's just kind of dealt with after he got the head coach job, like how to put those people in position to win and whatnot. I think I said it last week. I still think I have some confidence in him that he's going to figure out at least to get his defense to like an average to slightly above average defense because they got players, but they are a little bit banged up too. Like their first-round draft pick, Byron Murphy, has been out the last couple of games. I don't know when he's going to come back. But that's going to be a big deal whenever he does come back. But, 49ers get the job done. Just one step closer to winning the NFC West for the umpteenth time in a row now. So I don't think anybody else is really in contention at this point. I mean, they beat have they beat the Rams already this season? I can't remember now. Yes, no. I don't remember. Yeah. The Cardinals did beat them, but they have beat the Seahawks, which I think is their biggest competition right now.
For sure.
Cardinals are just a little bit frisky, but they have the last 2 weeks shown that they're not like super contenders by any stretch, not at least in contention in the NFC West. Let's move on to the Bears versus the Jags. This was the first game of the Sunday slate in London again. Caleb Williams showed out in this game, had 4 touchdowns on the day, was very, very efficient, didn't even have a whole lot of yardage. He had like under 250 yards but 4 touchdowns. They kind of went crazy. DeAndre Swift's playing well again after being kind of like a lot of people were just all over his back, especially fantasy managers. Like he looked pretty bad the first couple of weeks of the season, but he's really turned it up. Roschon Johnson's nice as a second back there. He's kind of like a goal line guy for them. So their offense is kind of cooking right now. Their defense was already good. We already knew that. Matt Eberflus knows how to call a defense. But I think the biggest thing for the Chicago Bears right now is the fact that Shane Waldron has changed his offense completely. Like what it was last year in Seattle was very basic and very just blah.
Yeah.
And then this year it started off that same way. And I was concerned personally for like Caleb Williams fans and people that like were excited about him, Bears fans in general, was because Shane Waldron's offense looked the exact same it did last year, but now it's opened up a little bit, and he's definitely gotten more creative as the season's gone on. And I think there was apparently like a meeting between a couple of the veterans within the locker room of the Chicago Bears that came to him and were like, hey, man, I think we need to open this thing up. I know Caleb Williams is a rookie QB, but he can handle it. Just like, let's throw the whole book at him. And I think they took that, at face value, and now it's working like crazy.
Yeah, the Bears are like, Williams has shown in college like he can play, but he was thrown into one of the best rookie QB spots I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
He already had DJ Moore. They brought in DeAndre Swift, and then Keenan Allen came in.
Yep.
And their O-line is nothing crazy, but like they can get the job done, and their defense is really good. Yep. And so he's played well, but you're like, man, if he can really start playing consistent, the talent is all there for them to start playing really well.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the way that the NFC North is going to like pan out by the end of the season, because obviously the Lions are on fire right now. The Packers are rounding into form with Jordan Love back and healthy, and then obviously you got the Chicago Bears as well, and the Vikings are 5-0.
Yeah.
So it's a crazy division right now. It's going to be really competitive going down the wire, and I'm looking forward to all the excitement there.
Yeah, they're good. The Jaguars, they need to start to figure it out. It's not – I don't know how many games head coach has left over there.
Very little.
Yeah, it's not looking good. And Lawrence got paid so much money.
He did.
And it's kind of like And like his stats don't look good, but I've seen some videos where there are some players dropping some passes, and you're like, oh God.
Yeah, well, that's like Gabe Davis's thing. Is he's not known for being able to catch the ball very well. He's a guy that can really like run, and his routes are decent, but his hands are so bad. They're very suspect. They were when he was in Buffalo, and it just translated right to the Jaguars. And he definitely dropped some passes last week. Or this past week against the Bears that like would have been a touchdown.
Yeah, and there's just nothing more Lawrence can do. It's like, put it on your numbers. You got to catch that ball.
100%. Let's move on to the next game. It's Ravens versus Commanders. This one obviously was like the Beltway game.
Barn burner.
This was a barn burner for sure. Jaden Daniels, the rookie, obviously still looking good in this one, but they fall short to the Ravens. Lamar Jackson in that offense, Derrick Henry. I mean, they're clicking on all cylinders. Zay Flowers had a crazy game in this one as well. They finally got Mark Andrews going a little bit in this one. The Ravens just look good. Yeah,
the Ravens have figured out they started the season with Derrick Henry as like kind of a running option in like an RPO where he sets up more close to Lamar, and they realized kind of what the Titans would do is put him like 8 yards back, so when he gets the ball, he's moving.
Yep.
And like their line is also good enough, and Henry's big enough. Like they get at least 3 yards normally every first down.
Yeah.
And then it sets up Zay Flowers and everyone else. And I think Derrick Henry, he's leading every rushing stat.
Yeah.
Like yards, touchdowns, average yard. You're like, all right, well, they figured it out. Because you remember at the beginning of the season when Harbaugh was like, we didn't bring him in here for 30 carries. And everyone was like, oh, crap. And he doesn't get 30, but you're like, he does what he does with what he does.
Yeah. I mean, He said that just like I feel like to like just temper expectations, but like I feel like he knew like this is the direction the team's gonna have to go anyway. So the Ravens just look really good. The Commanders obviously they kept pace in this one. They only lost by a touchdown
too.
Yeah, I mean the line was 6.5, which is crazy how good Vegas is at that. My concern is, and like this is something that's been kind of in the back of my head for a while now with the Commanders specifically, is just Cliff Kingsbury. I know he's looked good, calling the offense so far for the Commanders. The only problem is the last time we saw Cliff Kingsbury look this good as like an OC head coach or whatever you may call it in Arizona, that's when the Cardinals, I think they went like 8-0 in that season when they started off really, really hot, and then teams caught up to their offensive scheme a little bit, and they limped into the playoffs and lost in the first round. Yeah. So it's kind of a wait and see moment with Cliff Kingsbury, and if people start to catch on to the themes of the offense and things of that nature. I also did see a passing chart of Jaden Daniels, and if you look at it, all of his passes are going to the right-hand side of the field. It's very little going to the left, and if defensive head coaches and defensive coordinators start catching on to stuff like that, they're going to start shading coverage that way, and then it's going to be like, you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
So we'll see moving forward. Maybe that's just like, it was just coincidence. That's the way it happened, where all is passing to the right. It's a coincidence that, Cliff Kingsbury sometimes just gets his offense kind of like, it gets a little bit too predictable by the end of the season or something like that. But it's kind of a wait and see moment for right now. But for the time being, Commanders still look good. Just the Ravens are just a better team.
Yeah, I think both those teams will most likely be at least wild card teams.
Oh,
the Ravens there's a bit more expectation, but I think the Commanders can get in. Also, did you listen to Tony Romo call them the Redskins?
I did not.
He said that on Sunday at 1, and he never even addressed it.
That's funny.
I'm sure someone hit some button so that was funny.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, supposedly there's a petition to try to get that back.
Well, also when he played them 1,000 times, that's what they were.
Oh yeah, He's so used to that.
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of in his vernacular.
Yeah.
It's going to be there for a while. But it was an awesome game. Let's move on to the Texans versus the Patriots. This one was obviously the debut of Drake May. We were all curious to see how that was going to go. And honestly, it was like, I feel like it went better than I anticipated it going.
Too.
I mean, he did throw, I think, 3 picks.
Yeah,
but
two.
Oh, 2 picks. Yeah. Okay, sorry. 3 touchdowns in the game. But yeah, dude, he looked pretty good. Like they were down, obviously. The Texans kind of jumped all over him from the get-go. So, I mean, the Texans look good. They got Joe Mixon back. That really helps out that offense. I think that keeps them balanced. I think that was the key to their offense. They were struggling a little bit there when he was out. Obviously, Nico Collins is out, and this game's going to be out for the next 4 games. He's on IR. So
helps Diggs in fantasy.
It does help Diggs. It helped me. I have Tank Dell in fantasy as well.
He scored too.
He did. He was a little bit more involved in the offense in this one. And I just think the Texans look really good all around. And once they get Nico back, I think that offense is going to like really come together with Joe Mixon and everybody there.
Yeah, when their offense is full form, it will be absolutely insane. The one thing I wish I could do for the Texans was move J.J. Watt's prime to right now.
Oh, my gosh.
They could use him so much right now because their offense is so good, and he was there, and he was just wasted.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he had a few years there where like he was carrying that team.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it would have been really fun to see him on this team now. I mean, with Will Anderson's a stud.
Yeah,
obviously, Danielle Hunter's a stud.
The 2 sides would just be a pass rush.
Crazy. But yeah, basically, not a whole lot to say here. Texans really good.
Drake May did fine.
Drake May
seems like he'll figure it out.
Yeah, it looks like he's not afraid to sling it around. So that's very encouraging. Yeah. He didn't get killed in the game.
No.
He's athletic enough to kind of get himself out of the pocket, get himself out of some rough spots. So
I also think he knows like the Patriots stink. Like he knows his job isn't to come in there and win all these.
Yeah, he has the green light right now to do whatever he kind of feels
it's like we're gonna lose most likely anyway. So enjoy yourself.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Buccaneers versus the Saints. Obviously, NFC South matchup here, rivalry.
This game was insane.
This game was crazy. Bucs jump out to a little bit of a lead.
17-0.
Yeah, 17-0.
Quick.
And then the Saints jump out on them in the second quarter. Spencer Rattler obviously getting the start in this one because of Derek Carr's injury. Yeah. And 27 unanswered in the second quarter is a crazy thing to do, no matter who the quarterback of the offense is.
And then to lose by a fair amount of points is insane.
And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers come back and score 51 on them. Just a crazy game in general. Chris Godwin went wild in this game. Pretty much anything they did with him worked in that game. Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker both had ridiculous games on the ground as well for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Really not a whole lot to say there. Buccaneers offense is really, really good. Buccaneers defense still a little bit leaky secondary-wise. But really, honestly, I kind of liked Spencer Rattler coming into this year. Yeah. Like I thought there was a chance at some point Spencer Rattler could overtake the job from Derek Carr because I just feel like he's a little bit more of an aggressive player in general. Yeah. He's got the arm talent to do it. But going forward, it's going to be rough now because Chris Olave is out with a concussion, and I don't think he's going to be playing Thursday Night Football, as well as Rashid Shaheed. Just recently, it looks like I just saw he's getting surgery on a meniscus tear, so he might be gone for the rest of the season.
Sounds like it's Kamara's offense.
There's going to be a lot of Kamara in the offense going forward, and maybe a lot of check down stuff from Spencer Rattler, especially coming into this Thursday night game in a short week. The game plan is probably going to be a little bit shorter, a little bit smaller of a sample size. So I liked what I saw from Spencer Rattler, honestly, in that small of in just a 1 game span there, but it's going to be rough sled for him the rest of the season with this talent level just dropping off like that.
Yeah, they're losing some good players. And I felt so bad for Chris Olave because the play he got hurt, Rattler just absolutely watched him the whole route. QB or the cornerback on Shaheed jumps over. He catches the ball. Guys behind him right here just
kills him. Yeah.
And so that really stinks. And Kamara, he's questionable. He's been questionable every single week, which I find kind of interesting.
Yeah, he's just been probably just like
it's like load management. Yeah. But no, the Bucks look good. They just that game was weird. Like Shaheed scored a punt return. Yeah. Baker threw like 3 picks.
He did.
You're like, I don't know what's going on.
To be able to throw 3 picks and then score 51, like you know how many possessions you need to have in order for that to happen? And it like almost mathematically doesn't make sense because for the running backs to have that much production on the ground combined between 2 guys too, it's crazy how that even like.
Yeah, the math there didn't really math, but it shows Baker is not scared. Like he is not scared of a mistake.
He's slinging it. He doesn't care anymore.
And then his thing was also funny because Texas obviously beat the mollywop out of Oklahoma, and they did the flag plant thing, and he handled it well. He was like, I mean, they're just upset because I've been rent-free in their head for like over 10 years now.
Yeah, he's like, really funny. Yeah, it's funny to think that the guys that ended up doing that were like in elementary school, basically, the last time that happened. Like, or like if not in elementary, just like in the very early stages of middle school. Yeah, they were just children the last time that actually happened, but that's just kind of funny. Next game, we have the Eagles versus the Browns. This one,
it might be a Super Bowl matchup. If even possible.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's really good of you.
I mean, 2-star QBs really just duking it out.
Yeah, the Eagles losing, might as well. It's a moral loss in my eyes as an Eagles fan.
I mean, there's a Super Bowl hat right there.
That was 2017, different era completely. But yeah, I mean, to barely beat the Browns, to beat the Browns by 4 is embarrassing in itself. And then you got the antics of Nick Sirianni after the game, running to the sideline and yelling at our own fans because during the game there was like "Fire Nick" chants, which he completely deserved considering how bad the team looked in the middle of that game.
Yeah,
I mean, I described the whole sequence to you earlier about the going into half, the whole
second and 1.
Yeah, it was 2nd and 1 after an A.J. Brown slant route that got him 9 yards. Saquon gets a swing route that he doesn't get the first down. He runs out of bounds too early.
Out of Saquon.
And you can't take the Giants out of Saquon.
It's always in there somewhere.
And then they decide not to tush push, which I thought was weird considering they had 2 timeouts. They had plenty of time to do whatever they wanted. They drop back and pass. They get a 0 blitz from Jim Schwartz, and Saquon whiffs on the block. Jalen Hurts gets sacked, and then they're almost out of field goal range. They're now trying a 57-yard field goal.
Myles Garrett's.
And then Myles Garrett, just uber athletic guy in general, like known for this type of thing, jumps over the line, blocks it, return for a touchdown. You're tied 10-10 going into half against the Cleveland Browns.
13-3 or even 10-3.
Yeah, it's embarrassing how much talent the Eagles have and like what it's put on the field in production every Sunday. It's like it's clear that you're not getting the most out of your talent.
Yeah, you look at the depth chart, you're like, oh crap. Yeah. Like Hurts is solid.
It might be the best roster in all
time. Yeah, like which is crazy. Saquon's great. The receivers are good. The defense is solid. Sirianni, it's like he's just playing like mix and mash for like plays. Like Madden, when you close your eyes, you like click one.
Yeah, basically. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no real sequencing, like schematically with the play calls. No. It's just a bunch of like our guys beat their guys type offensive play calling, and it's like that's not sustainable. No. That can work for you against a team like the Cleveland Browns who didn't score an offensive touchdown. The only touchdown they did score was the blocked field goal. And because Deshaun Watson's unplayable.
Yeah, it's terrible.
You can only get away with it with those types of teams.
You meet like a Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, you're getting
It's not going to be good.
No.
It's not going to be good. And it's not going to be good going forward because I will say the Eagles' schedule is not that hard, but we're going to make it hard.
I was going to say they'll make it interesting.
They'll make it as hard as it's going to be like hitting your head against a wall.
Yeah.
Like it really is the rest of the season. I'm not looking forward to watching the way that this transpires unless like I've come to the conclusion that like if you don't get Sirianni out of the way soon, it's going to be a lost season. Like I think it needs to be. I don't think they'll do it. I don't think they'll fire him mid-season, but I personally would just to like see what you got in Kellen Moore as an interim head coach or something like that. See if it like something changes because he's like embarrassing the fan base. He's embarrassing the organization doing his stuff. And it just like all the stuff he preaches, the like accountability, discipline, football IQ, all this like connectability thing or like all this stuff that he preaches, like it's clear that the football team just isn't embodying any of it right now. So
I don't know how he takes a roster so good and makes it look so average. But I do think if they were to fire him and like an interim head coach, the one thing that they do really well is everyone's like, oh crap, like we have to.
It creates some urgency.
Yeah, and if they like him, they're like, we want this guy to stay, so let's start playing well.
Yeah.
And then everyone gets a little fired up. And with that team, if they're all fired up, they're pretty good.
Yeah, it should be. Things should go in the right direction.
They should have beat the Browns like 35-7. That game should not have been.
If that was the score to that game, I would not have come on here complaining whatsoever.
Yeah, it's like, I'm like, okay, take care of the Browns.
They've turned the page a little bit here. They got all their stars back, and now this. And that's the thing. Coming off a bye, like you can't come in and look that ugly coming off of a bye. And against the worst team in football.
And they had some excuse early. It's like, no AJ Brown, no Devontae Smith. Now it's like the stars are in.
Yeah.
Now's the time your team's supposed to look really good.
Yeah. And really, like A.J. Brown's the guy that saved the day because I mean, the slot fade for a touchdown, that was all him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good throw by Jalen Hurts, but like that, it's just the guy was all over. He's draped on him.
He's athletic.
He's just got the strongest hands in the NFL, apparently.
Yeah.
And then the one to essentially seal the game was a play that Jalen Hurts checked to at the line. He was like, "I'm gonna get A.J. Brown one-on-one here. Yeah. Let's throw this down there and let's seal the game off." And I mean, in theory, it's an awesome play and it's epic that like that's how you seal the game, but it's not sustainable.
Also, the game should not need to be sealed that late in the game
against the Browns.
No.
Yeah, I just not a huge fan of the way the Eagles look.
At least they stole the win. They got the win.
They got the win at home by 4 against the worst team in football.
Yeah. It's a win. It's a win on the column. Counts the same as everyone else's.
Yeah, whatever. At least it didn't look as bad as one other game on the slate, which is what we're going to get to here. Lions versus Cowboys.
Oh.
Cowboys get absolutely trounced at home once again.
Awesome.
For the second time this season. The third time this season, I lied. I mean, it was Saints and then the Ravens and then now the Lions. I mean,
any team with a run game just blasts them.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is the thing. They're not stopping the run. They can't run the football. And when you can't do either one of those things, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys are in trouble. And even Dak Prescott couldn't even save them in this game. He couldn't even do his famous like stat padding at the end of the game. He's so famous for like for fantasy purposes. Like people were like, okay, they're getting blown out, but like
he'll start throwing it around.
Dak will start slinging the rock, and then he just continued to throw picks in this game. Like the Detroit Lions made it a point to blow them out. They were trying to throw the ball late in that game, even when Hendon Hooker came in eventually. They were obviously trying to get a touchdown to one of their offensive linemen because of the whole Dan Skipper not, being eligible last year and that weird loss that they had at the end of the season there based on that, like the refs screwing that up, whatever. But yeah, they try to get Dan Skipper another touchdown in this game. Later in the game, they like put him out at wide receiver. Yeah. They were just trolling.
Oh, absolutely. They're doing whatever they want.
The fact that they hate the Cowboys as much as I do made me really happy. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, the Cowboys are in trouble and the Lions look incredible.
Yeah, I saw 2 funny memes this week. One, it was someone pretended to be Jerry Jones. He's like, I don't get it. We didn't have the talent last year. We made no changes to get the talent, and we still don't have the talent to win it this year. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't.
And then Dan Campbell, someone was like, all right, coach, what play should we run? we're running a slant to our left tackle. And they're like, Coach, it's the first quarter. We're running a slant.
Yeah,
and then it's like, we're running a hook and ladder to our right guard.
Oh,
like,
dude, yeah.
What?
The fact they did
Sewell should have scored, dude. They screwed up the call.
I know. There was like an illegal shift or something like that. Like, oh, my God.
Yeah. Dude. Yeah, the Lions are the team that, like, if they want to embarrass you, they can. Their O-line's so good. Their defense, I felt so bad for Aiden Hutchinson, too.
Oh,
that sucked.
Yeah.
His leg in the picture,
snapped.
You're like,
in half. Like,
and
that's a gruesome.
They're a team that they can still be fine without him. But you're like, that sucks.
Yeah, I feel like they'll be a team that makes a move at the trade deadline. Like,
honestly, they probably will have to.
They should make a move for Hassan Reddick.
Yeah.
Who obviously is still not playing for the New York Jets right now. And, like, he's not the same type of player at all as Aiden Hutchinson. He's clearly not as big as Aiden Hutchinson. Mm-hmm. He's like a bigger end. But at least he can give you some kind of production coming off the edge there. But I mean,
47-9.
I think so.
Because I had the Bates, the Lions kicker. Mm-hmm. He went like 5 for 5. He had 19.
I think he got me 20 because in our league you get a point for winning the football game, which is kind of nice. But so he got me an even 20, and I was like, dang, dude.
At home, like losing to the Lions, just in general, it's like, well, it's the Lions.
Yeah, makes sense.
Losing by 40, you're like, oh god. Yeah. And in that fashion, because Dan Campbell was flipping pages in the book.
Like, he was going at the very end. Yeah, he's going to the last page in that playbook. Like, what can I do more to embarrass the Cowboys?
Let's make Jerry Jones look stupid.
Yeah, but everything was working with the Lions here. I mean, David Montgomery gets an extension before the game. Like, I think it was like Saturday night or something like that. He gets an extension. So he's going to be there a couple more years.
So good.
Yeah, that's just like, I think they said that their new nickname is going to be Sonic and Knuckles, which is funny.
Yeah, that is funny.
And David Montgomery's like, I'm Knuckles. Yeah. Like, if you were ever wondering, like, I'm the guy that's like, I'm the hammer here.
Yeah.
But so that's pretty cool. Amon-Ra St. Brown got going in this game. Yeah. Jameson Williams really got going in this game as well. Once again, he's proven to be a very big explosive element for their offense. So Lions look really good.
Yeah, they do. And the Cowboys, they paid their 2 players to keep them there, and Dak and CD aren't doing junk.
No.
Like, that's
their relationship seems a little rocky right now.
They don't seem like good friends.
It's not good all around. And then you get Jerry Jones going on the radio on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas there, and he is as defensive as he's ever been answering any questions about the football team, and he essentially gets so defensive that the guys even ask him questions about the construction of the team. He starts threatening this dude's job. And it's like, man, you know things are bad whenever you're threatening a radio host, fans on their own show. Like, and he probably has the power to get that guy fired.
Oh, for sure.
And he literally said, I'm not kidding. And he said, it's not funny. And the guy was kind of like giggling at it. And he was like, no, like, I'm dead serious. Yeah. Which is like, that is like bottom tier, scumbag work.
That's pretty low. It's also like, so many people are like, I know you can't really fire an owner unless they do some like
heinous stuff. Yeah, like basically Dan Snyder type.
Yeah, but it's like, can we?
Yeah, like can we just like oust him? Like, can there be a vote?
People are like, I don't get it. Like, he brought in Mike McCarthy and he kept him here, and they've done nothing of the sorts.
Yeah, it's the same repeat. It's a rinse and repeat every year.
It's always start the season hot. Kind of get going, make the playoffs, lose.
Yeah, lose.
Start the season hot, and then every time you're like nothing.
And now this year, it's just been bad from the get-go. So the vibes were never high. I knew it was going to be rough if they didn't start out hot in this season because of all of the turmoil of McCarthy on, essentially like a prove-it deal. Yeah. CeeDee Lamb needing the contract, Dak needing the contract, which they got done. I was surprised they got both those done, but. Yeah, it's just
shout out to the Lions. They make football right now fun. Like, you're watching this, like
they're the funnest.
Like, they just ran a hook and ladder. They're throwing it. Yeah. They're basically the Chiefs, but the newer Chiefs.
100%.
Like, when the video when Kelsey like shoveled it to P. Ryan, you're like, wow. Yeah, you're like, that's just cool.
Yeah, it's new stuff.
Like, that's fun.
Yeah, but now the Lions are doing it every game. It seems like
again they can because they're better than people. They have more skill.
Dude, Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator, is going to get the fattest blank check of all time this offseason, and I hope the Eagles write it for him.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
Like, that guy, he's embarrassing teams, and not even just like a grounded pound. It's like, we're gonna try. Like, all right, Sewell, you're catching this pass, and you're like, what?
And it's like, from my perspective as an Eagles fan, you look at that offense, you're like, man, are those skill players even as good as the Eagles? And look what he's doing with those guys. It's like that's what I watch every Sunday. I have to compare it to, and it's like it is such a stark difference.
For sure. Like the comparison between them is, I would give Goofball a bit of the edge over Hurts. I think he's a bit better. And then the O-line seems fairly similar. But the receivers, I would probably give to the Eagles.
Yeah.
Running back, I would say the Eagles have more star, but the Lions have 2.
Yeah.
But, no, I agree. It's so funny to watch, especially since it was the Cowboys.
I know.
The highlights from that game are
I never have more fun on Sundays than hate watching the Cowboys lose.
Yeah.
That's the best.
When it's midway through the first quarter, you run a double reverse sweep pass to Laporta, and he scores.
I love those plays too, like the ones where they're double reversing and then somebody's just wide open down the middle every single time almost. Yeah, that was crazy. But let's move on to what was it? Monday Night Football.
Yeah,
that was Bills versus Jets. A lot more things going on after the fact, in the aftermath of this. Yeah, in the aftermath of this game, because I guess probably what everybody witnessed during the game was essentially the Jets kind of blew it. The Jets should have won the game. They missed 2 big-time field goals. Greg Zuerlein hit the upright on both of them, and really if he kicks and makes both of those field goals, maybe even one of them, they probably win the game the way the game was going. The Bills barely scrape away with the win in this one. Josh Allen at the end runs it for a first down, a big first down to essentially seal the game. Aaron Rodgers actually looked pretty good in this game. They just couldn't really capitalize once they got on the other side of the field for the Jets. And obviously you got the Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary, which is just prevalent with him. I don't know why he's so good at it.
I think he's figured out the buying the time thing.
Yeah,
he can dance
the timing
for
of
6-7 seconds and then let the ball go.
Yeah, and just wait until they have enough time to kind of turn around.
Everyone's
just
in the
real
end zone.
jump ball situation.
And then because he's figured out what is 30-yard throw, 40-yard throw, 50, 60, and so that was fun. Yeah,
it was pretty sweet. But obviously Bills barely scrape across, and Jets lose, going to 2-4. And both teams after the fact were like, "Man, we are clearly not where we need to be right now offensively." Yeah. And so the Jets make the first move of the first big move of the trade deadline, and they trade for Davante Adams, which was speculated would be a thing.
His hamstring got better.
It magically got better.
Healed in the airplane. Healed in the airplane.
Yeah. So Davante Adams obviously is in New York now, making Garrett Wilson kind of a number 2 wide receiver, which honestly, for my money, I feel like makes both of them better.
For sure.
I don't think
you can't shadow cover one of them.
You can't shade coverage on either one of them now. You can't double both of them. So I think for fantasy purposes, if you got Garrett, you should probably feel fine. You're probably not super excited since he was the one, but I think it's still fine. Davante Adams, much better situation. Aaron Rodgers and him have ridiculous chemistry. I think they're going to be able to hit the ground running, fantasy-wise, real football-wise. I think it's going to be great for their offense, which is obviously the worst part of their team right now. The defense is playing pretty fine.
Yeah,
they can get the job done at the very least. And then on the opposite side of the field, I think the Bills looked at that game and said, how did we barely beat the Jets?
Yeah.
The way that things have been trending for them. And they were like, we clearly need some more offensive weapons. Khalil Shakir is a nice player. Curtis Samuel's a nice player. We got these tight ends, but we need another alpha back in here that's not going to be a diva. Yeah. And you got Amari Cooper traded to them from the Browns, which I'm a big fan of because I made a fantasy trade specifically for this type of moment, which I thought he was just going to go to the Chiefs. And I think the Chiefs missed out on an opportunity here to do that. But I think
Kelsey's
the Bills,
offense.
Yeah, I think the Bills didn't want the Xavier Worthy thing to happen where they traded him to pick and they picked the guy and they're like, oh, he's going to kill you in the playoffs. Yeah. So I think they were like, we're going to beat the Chiefs to the punch in this one. And they acquire Amari Cooper, and I think this is going to be a big deal for their offense.
Yeah, I am excited for the Bills because Josh Allen is so good. He's able to win some games on his own, this one where you're like, oh, they beat the Jets. It wasn't pretty, but they beat the Jets. And then Amari Cooper, he's kind of just a put your head down and play. He's not like Stephon Diggs where he's like, I need X amount of this and X amount of that. So I think that wasn't a good win, but it was a win. So they're what, 4-2, 5-2?
4-2,
which I
think
is a decent starting record, especially since they haven't really played all that well.
Yeah.
So it was good to see them win. I want to give a shout out to the Bengals because they needed a win and they didn't get a pretty one, but they got it.
Yeah, they got the job done in New York for sure. That was what I ended up making a lot of money on that game. Actually, I had a couple parlays that smacked at that one. I was pretty excited about that. But yeah, the Bills with Amari Cooper now, I think once again, if you're looking at it from a fantasy perspective, that's one of the best case scenarios you could have expected.
There or the Chiefs.
Because I personally think it's better than the Chiefs situation.
Yeah, they have less weapons.
Because less weapons as well as they have a worse defense, the Bills do. So that means more time on the field, more scoring because you're going to be in shootouts and things of that nature. The other team's going to score against you, so you're going to have to pass the ball. Josh Allen slings it downfield, and he's got the arm to get you the ball all the way down there. So big time deal for the Bills.
Yeah, it was good to see both those teams making it happen because it is fun to see Rodgers and Adams. I'm sure you saw on the Pat McAfee show.
Yeah, he popped out behind him.
He was and so it's good. Yeah. I'm sure they're both so excited.
Oh, for sure.
It's kind of like a Mahomes, Kelsey, Gronk, Brady kind of thing. It's that's my guy.
Yeah, that's their mind meld thing.
We know how we play together. I'm glad he's here.
Yeah, and I think that opens up the door for other people to succeed as well. Breece Hall should be better now. Everybody should be a little bit better, I believe.
But, for sure.
Yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for the Week 6 recap. Let's get into the Thursday Night Football preview. I'm going to do this against the spread as well. And right now, off the top of my head, I like Broncos -3 versus the Saints. We alluded to it earlier. Spencer Rattler, obviously a rookie. This is going to be a second start in the NFL on a short week after a loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, we've already alluded to the injuries that are happening with the Saints. You got offensive linemen down. You've got Chris Olave not playing. You got Rashid Shaheed not playing. Taysom Hill might end up showing up in this one. We'll see if he comes back from injury or not. I don't think the Saints are going to have enough to beat the Broncos. I'm not saying the Broncos are world beaters by any stretch, but the Broncos defense is very good, and I think they're going to be able to stifle offense in the Saints that does not have any weapons really in their favor right now.
Whoa. Kamara?
Well, yeah, but that's what – if you let the Broncos get you one-dimensional, I think it's going to be a long day, as well as Vance Joseph blitzes the crap out of you, and he's going to send people at Spencer Rattler, and I don't know if he's going to know where it's coming from.
Yeah, that is probably true. I am worried about Rattler, I won't lie, because even as a Kamara fantasy owner, I'd so much rather have an experienced quarterback, because then I feel like it's going to end up into a McCaffrey situation at the Panthers where he just gets overused. And then he somehow ends up getting hurt.
Now, I will say, I guess the upside is if there is a ton of blitzes, which it's Vance Joseph, he's going to send it.
Check down.
His hot read is going to be Alvin Kamara. So, you might come out of this looking pretty right now.
7 receptions.
Yeah, because it might be 7 receptions. It might go for 28 yards, but you're going to get those points per reception.
10 points.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you're going to be good on that. But yeah, I think the Broncos can win this game pretty handily. Bo Nix right this second is better than Spencer Rattler is right this second. And I think right now the Broncos, they don't have a whole lot of offensive weapons, but I think they have more than the Saints right now considering all the injuries.
I am curious how the Saints defense, statistically, obviously they got 51, but the Bucs offense is good. So I am curious if they'll be able to, player-wise, they seem decent. I don't think honestly. I think the over/under is 37. So clearly, I think Vegas thinks both defenses are going to play really well in this one. But I can really see this being a 17-10 game, and just for sure.
That's it. There's no offensive explosion whatsoever. We're not going to get the Thursday night footballs of the past 2 weeks at all.
No way.
Yeah.
That should be a fun one, though, because it's two teams that really got to figure it out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're both going to be desperate because, if the Saints don't win, you're looking at – they started off 2-0, and they've lost every game since. Yeah. So they are desperate to get a win. Dennis Allen, his job's not going to be secure for very much longer if this continues. And then, obviously, Sean Payton, he's going to be motivated going back to New Orleans. That's another storyline you got to keep in mind is he's going to want to put it to the Saints. There wasn't I don't think there was any bad blood between the two, but he wants to prove that he was the guy. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a part of it too. So I like the Broncos -3 there. Now, my favorite matchup against the spread this weekend is
Say it.
It's
Say it.
Giants
Disrupt
plus 3 versus the Eagles. I'm not gonna lie. I think the Giants can win this straight out, like flat out. I think the Giants can win this football game. It's in New York. The storylines of Saquon coming back to MetLife for the first time since obviously, becoming an Eagle and leaving the Giants is going to be a big storyline. But at the end of the day, man, the way I've seen the Eagles offense operate, it seems like Daboll has had the Eagles number at least the last year. Like last year, I think they beat the Giants beat them the last game of the season, and it wasn't even close. Like the Giants completely outplayed them, and that was Tyrod Taylor as the starting quarterback. So like,
he's almost as good as Deshaun Watson.
Oh my god, yeah. So Daniel Jones is not great, but like the offense looks pretty competent.
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors is going to come back in this game, and like if you don't stop him, I don't know.
Do you think Slay can do it?
See, I'd rather have Quinyon Mitchell on Malik Neighbors right now. I kind of want to see that in general, just the two rookies going up against each other. Slay got banged up in the game against the Browns, and he's like day-to-day right now. They said he's trending towards playing, but like he's a little banged up, so I don't know how he's going to play. But I really think the Giants going to win this game. Like, I think I'm going to bet Giants plus 3, just give you that cushion.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I don't like the way the Eagles look right now, and I think the Giants can really win.
Yeah, it's never a good feeling when your team is playing a team that's not that good of a team, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah. The Giants look more competent on defense and offense.
They do.
Now. They look more structured.
Yeah, for sure.
The Eagles look more disjointed, and like they haven't figured it all out just yet. And I think the Giants at least know who they are.
Yeah,
like they know
figured it out.
With Tyrone Tracy looks really good right now. They're going to run the ball with Tyrone Tracy. I think Devin Singletary is probably going to get ousted as he's going to be like the backup now because the way that Tyrone Tracy looked in relief of him the last 2 games. And he's an effective guy out of the backfield too because he was a converted wide receiver from college. I think he went to Vanderbilt, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Or Purdue, one of the two. I get this mixed up because they're both gold and black. Yeah. But anyways, he looks really good. And then Malik Neighbors, they know where their bread's buttered. They're going to throw the ball to him. He's going to get 20 targets probably. And it's going to be a matter of if Vic Fangio can kind of scheme him out of the game and then just let the rest of the guys try to beat you like Wan'Dale Robinson. And I can just see it now. Like, just Wan'Dale and Darius Slayton just smoking the rest of our DBs. I don't like what I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate feeling. But I will say, I do think the worst part for the Eagles is if you do like an ESPN simulation, our roster versus their roster, it would be like 42 to like 13. Yeah. And it just will not. Yeah. Because you mentioned identity, and the Eagles have not quite gotten there.
And I really think they need to go towards like the Baltimore Ravens mold in order to I think they need to go let's just go Saquon heavy, and then that's when we get our one-on-one shots to AJ and Devontae and guys like that.
Because I don't know if you watch the Ravens game, Zay Flowers was wide open.
Yeah.
Every pass, they had 5 yards every direction.
There's too many people in the box now.
Yeah, you need 8, almost 9.
So he's just one-on-one wherever he wants. And he's too quick and shifty to people stay with him for very long.
I also think what stinks for the Eagles is Kelsey kind of was an identity piece, even as a center. He had been there for so long, he could kind of bring everyone together. Yep. He was kind of like a rally piece, and I don't think they've replaced, at least on offense, a leader yet.
Yeah.
And so I think they need to
Jalen Hurts has kind of been forced into that. Yeah. And at face value, he's a good leader, but it's going to take a little while to get to Kelsey's stats.
Well, and it's one of those things some people have it, some people don't. You could be a great player, not that good of a leader.
Correct.
You're just a good player. So they need someone. I genuinely think it could be an AJ Brown, a young stud. Mm-hmm. Someone's all right, guys, I'll lead the charge. Let's do this.
Yeah. And the Eagles will be without their left tackle. Jordan Mailata hurt his hamstring in the game. He said he's going to be out a couple weeks, which it looked way worse. He was in crutches leaving the field, which I was that looks terrible. I don't know what the injury was. And then they said it was a hamstring, and he said he's only going to be out a couple weeks, which I'd be shocked if he's not gone for longer. But and then I will say on the flip side, Andrew Thomas, the left tackle of the Giants, he's gone for the season with a Liz Frank, and he's one of the better left tackles in the game too. So that does bode well for the Eagles defensive ends who have underperformed thus far in the season. And I will say, I told you earlier, the one hesitation I do have for this game is
Saquon goes bananas.
If Saquon goes crazy because of the comeback, and he's already come out in the media and said that he doesn't expect to be booed by the New York fans. And I'm just going to go ahead and give you a little bit of a spoiler alert. You're going to get booed like crazy, Saquon. And so, there's a chance, I think, that if he gets super booed, that he just, goes nuclear and has, 3 touchdowns and just, carries the Eagles to victory. But
I could also get in his head and absolutely backfire.
It could. So that's what I'm saying. For me, there's too much on the opposite side of that for me to, really think the Eagles are going to blow them out.
The other thing I think, to agree with your spread, is the Eagles, obviously they didn't have a good one, but they won, so it's kind of well, at least we squeaked by. And the Giants are going to be so upset that they kind of lost one to the Bengals that they should have won.
Yeah, they really – the Bengals definitely should have won that. I mean, the Giants should have won that game. They got a whole lot of momentum going into the fourth quarter there against the Bengals, and I thought the Giants were going to pull it off for sure, but – they missed a few plays here and there that just kind of turned the tide.
And I do think it's going to be a Brian Burns and company. Let's show Saquon what he's got to play against.
Yeah, no, I agree. Dexter Lawrence is an absolute
their
stud.
O-line or D-line is fantastic.
It's ridiculous. Kayvon Thibodeau is out. He's on the IR, so you don't have to deal with him, fortunately for the Eagles. But yeah, Brian Burns is a stud. Dexter Lawrence is crazy good.
Yeah.
I mean, their defense in general is pretty solid. So that's what I'm saying.
It's not going to be Giants by 20.
It's not going to be easy sledding for the Eagles whatsoever. So yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for this episode of the podcast. Appreciate you coming on once again. This is Hodge Burkhart.
Yeah, there you
Did
go.
not screw up your name this time.
Not Burkhart.
But I appreciate everybody listening. Follow on the TikTok.
I'm 6-0 in fantasy, by the way.
6-0.
I have 3 of the top 7 running backs in a 12-man league. I have Bijan, Kamara, and Derrick Henry. So
there you go.
Yeah, so, I just wanted to mention that.
He's the draft god.
Yeah,
apparently.
Pizza party if I go undefeated and win the whole thing.
Right here, if you want to join.
Exactly.
But yeah, follow on all the socials, and we will talk to you next week. See ya.
Peace.